King Corvus ruled with an iron fist, his heart cold and hard. He cared little for his people, even less for his daughters. Princess Lyra, eldest and most gentle, yearned for a world bathed in kindness. Princess Ilara, fierce and bold, chafed under her father's oppressive rule. Youngest, Princess Vesta, remained oblivious, lost in her world of dreams and stories. Their father, consumed by greed, taxed the people mercilessly. He hoarded gold in his towering castle while his subjects starved. Whispers of dissent filled the marketplace, but none dared to challenge the king. His guards, eyes like hawks, silenced any whisper of rebellion. Lyra, heartbroken by the suffering she witnessed, pleaded with her father. His response was always the same: cold silence. Ilara urged defiance, her hand always straying to the hilt of her dagger. Vesta, lost in her fairy tales, remained untouched by the kingdom's plight. But the storm clouds gathered, and soon their lives would be irrevocably changed. Cailan moved like a wraith, silent and swift. He reached the princess's chambers, fear a knot in his stomach. This was not how he envisioned fighting for justice, but the time for subtlety had long passed.
Who are you? What do you want?
He pressed a finger to his lips, urging silence.
Stay back. I won't hesitate to use this.
Ilara, never one to be taken unawares, met him with a drawn dagger. He saw the fire in her eyes, the same fire that burned in his own heart.
I'm here to help. We need to leave now. Your father must be stopped.
He quickly explained his purpose: to take the princesses hostage, to force the king's hand. Ilara, after a moment of tense silence, lowered her weapon.
What's happening? Why are we leaving?
Vesta, awoken by the commotion, rubbed the sleep from her eyes. She seemed more curious than afraid, her gaze flitting between Cailan and her sisters. With whispers and hurried steps, Cailan led the princesses out of the castle, leaving behind the only life they had ever known. The night swallowed them whole as they fled into the dense forest surrounding the castle. Behind them, the first shouts of alarm began to ring out, the sound quickly swallowed by the whispering trees. Their journey had begun, a desperate flight for freedom and a chance to right the wrongs inflicted upon their kingdom. The forest became their sanctuary, the rustling leaves their only company. Days bled into nights as Cailan led them through treacherous paths and hidden trails. He taught them survival skills, how to hunt and forage, how to read the language of the forest.
Let me help with that wound. It's the least I can do.
Lyra, ever compassionate, tended to his wounds, both physical and emotional.
You're not bad with a dagger, but I can still take you.
Ilara, initially resistant, found herself drawn to Cailan's unwavering resolve. She sparred with him, her skills with a dagger growing sharper each day.
And then, the brave knight faced the dragon, his heart full of courage.
Vesta, ever the dreamer, spun tales of daring escapes and magical creatures, keeping their spirits high even in the darkest of hours. They faced countless dangers, wild beasts with eyes like burning coals, treacherous ravines that seemed to yawn into the earth's core, and the ever-present threat of the king's soldiers, their faces grim beneath their helmets. But through it all, their bond grew stronger, forged in the fires of adversity. Lyra's compassion blossomed into quiet strength. Ilara's fiery spirit found focus and purpose. Vesta's stories became a source of hope, reminding them that even in the darkest of times, light always finds a way. One day, they stumbled upon a hidden village, nestled deep within the heart of the forest.
The villagers, their faces etched with hardship, welcomed us with open arms.
These people too had suffered under the king's iron rule.
They shared what little food they had, their eyes shining with a spark of rebellion rekindled.
Lyra, her heart overflowing with empathy, used her knowledge of herbs and healing to tend to their ailments.
Ilara, inspired by their resilience, taught them basic self-defense, empowering them to resist.
Vesta, her tales more vivid than ever, filled their hearts with hope and the promise of a brighter future.
For the first time, the princesses understood the true meaning of their lineage.
It wasn't about opulent gowns or gilded cages.
It was about responsibility, about using our privilege to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves.
They were no longer merely princesses, but beacons of hope, rallying the downtrodden and igniting a fire of resistance that spread like wildfire through the kingdom. News of the princess's deeds reached the king's ears, his face contorted with fury.
He had underestimated his daughters, dismissing them as insignificant pawns.
Now they had become a threat, their names whispered in hushed tones, a symbol of defiance against his tyranny.
He rallied his forces, determined to crush the rebellion and drag his daughters back to their gilded cages.
But the kingdom had changed.
The people, inspired by our courage, rose up against their oppressor.
The final battle raged outside the castle walls, a clash between tyranny and freedom.
We, leading the charge, fought with the strength of 1,000 suns, our voices ringing out across the battlefield, a symphony of defiance.
Kaelin by their side proved to be a valiant warrior, his sword a blur of righteous fury.
The king's forces, their morale shattered, faltered.
The tide had turned, the reign of terror coming to an end.
The king, his face pale with fear, was captured, his tyranny finally broken.
The princesses, standing victorious amidst a cheering crowd, looked down at their defeated father.